This is a presentation about augmenting or embellishing your three-dimensional world. It's project number 4 in the 3D design class. And this idea is based on just going out into your world and looking at everything around you in 3 dimensions and seeing how you could make some little intervention in the world that would surprise other people. And we have a few limitations. We can't do something that would possibly put other people in danger or damage property. So for instance, hiding stones in tall grass might cause tripping or break a lawnmower when it goes over them. I mean, there's that kind of idea. Putting something that's heavy up above the head where it could fall and hurt someone is not a good plan either. So those are just some basic limitations, but pretty much the sky's the limit. I've done quite a few of these different projects here. This one is one that I call #LittleClayGuy, and to give credit where credit is due, my daughter is the one who suggested that I put on the back of each one of these flags a little information that suggests that people who find it can either leave it there, take a picture with it and post that with #LittleClayGuy, or they can take it and move it somewhere else or give it to someone else to go hide. All those things are possible, and each time asking them to photograph it and put #LittleClayGuy, and that's all written on the back. On the front is either a quote, or here in this case is a poem by Rumi. So I put some poems out, some quotes out, and this one was at Costco in a favorite location. I just loved how that big red arrow points to the piece. And you know, to be in Costco and read a poem by Rumi, this one called Only Breath. Not Christian or Jew or Muslim, not Hindu, Buddhist, Sufi, or Zen, not any religion or cultural system. I am not from the East or the West, not out of the ocean or up from the ground, not natural or ethereal, not composed of elements at all. I do not exist, am not an entity in this world or in the next, did not descend from Adam and Eve or any origin story. My place is placeless, a trace of the traceless, neither body nor soul. I belong to the beloved, have seen the two worlds as one, and that one call to and know, first, last, outer, inner, only that, breath, breathing, human being. So that's a kind of a nice message to find in Costco, and that's what this fellow did. He actually found that message. He works for Costco, and he saw me do something over in that counter, and he walked over to see what it was, and I told him, oh, it's an art project, and he said, cool, and he left it there. So so I don't know how long these things last. Some of them are hidden in a way that they're harder to discover and last longer. Some of them are found quite quickly. This one may not be noticed right away. This is this is at Home Depot in Woodland, and you can see on the upper half of the picture, you can see the little flag on the far left there. And here's a close-up of the poem by Langston Hughes, which is called I Too. I too sing America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when company comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, eat in the kitchen. Then, besides, they'll know how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America. Love that poem. So, and here it is, easier to read. I should have waited to read it here. So that's, they have poems sometimes. Here's a piece. This was actually something that came up as I started working on the project, and I find that that happens with all my art, that sometimes I'll get an idea, and then I will be suddenly seized with a sense of, oh, there's more to do. And this could be done a different way. And what I came up with was enlisting friends and associates to just hand them a piece and instruct them to go hide it somewhere and take a picture and send it to me. And this is a friend and architect, Elizabeth Dubin, and she put it on the pedestal of the Cesar Chavez statue at Cesar Chavez Elementary School. That's kind of a fun thing, because I've found a lot of people really enjoy the idea of being part of some project like this, and they get a creative experience just going out and hiding it. Here is one that I placed in Berkeley on a fire hydrant. Large, I think that's a Mary Oliver poem on this one, just right out on the street. And this is one of those little free library boxes in front of the house, and you can see the little critter in there. And he's got an Emily Dixon poem. If I can stop one heart from breaking, I shall not live in vain. If I can ease one life the aching, or cool one pain, or help one fainting robin undo his nest again, I shall not live in vain. Emily Dickinson. And here's another project, much kind of just a simple concept. This is a pile of rubble in a field by my house, and the field is adjacent to a cemetery, so you can see some gravestones and some different kinds of markers there. It's just a pile of rubble, so I just began to stack them. And so I just started putting things on top of things and came up with these two towers. And I may go back and play with it some more, but that's... now this is a little bit edgy because these are about 6 feet tall, and if there was a lot of traffic or the area was known for a lot of kids playing or something, this might be pretty dangerous, but there's just almost nobody. It'll be seen by 2 people a week at the most. So that, and probably people will see it and maybe make their own towers. I don't know. Oh, I guess, and I have a few more of these. Here's another one of the little figures. Yeah. And this is a little clay guy in at the Berkeley Fire Station. And then an earlier project, which was similar in some ways, instead of little clay guys, I made hanging flower vases, which is a traditional art form in Japan. I made those, and I made little cups. And then I was traveling and working in Europe. And so this is a church in the town of Landshut, Germany. And I had a little sculpture that I had made and fired, and I left it in this window here. You can see him sitting there. And some of them don't last very long. This one went away fairly quickly. Here is a little flower arrangement in a hanging vase. And I have, in this series, I put these QE codes, and it led to a website where people could actually see what the project was about, and it would encourage them to go hide the vase somewhere else. And here is another view of the same composition. And this is my friend Sabina Turpinen, a German potter whom I was collaborating with in an exhibition. And we were out at a beautiful sculpture garden. And here's the sculpture garden itself that we were visiting. And you can see my little hanging flower vase just naturally fitting in. So I'm just putting these all over. This was a favorite of mine, a little cup that says art on it. And it's sitting on a solid cube of steel by Richard Serra in front of the National Gallery of Germany. This is the, in Berlin, this is the #1 contemporary art museum of all of Germany. And it's, this was just, I just left it sitting on this block. And you can see all around it some more traditional buildings. So they had little sayings on them, and they had little pictures, and then that QR code so people could scan it and learn about the project. This is actually an interesting place to hide it. I've done this in a few places. This is a crafts gallery in Skelsgård, Denmark. And it's a place that has a wonderful art center in the town that I have had several residencies at, and I visit them every 2 to 8 years. I've been there 3 or 4 times now. And so I visited once, and I stuck this cup in the window, and then I went back, and I came in 2 years later, and I met someone behind the counter, and I asked them about this little cup. Did they ever find a little cup in there? And the woman was confused for a minute, and then she realized, she remembered the cup, and she said, "Oh yes, we had that, and we were doing inventory, and we couldn't figure out which artist it came from, and we all looked through our records, and we finally couldn't figure it out, and then finally we wrapped it up, and people drew straws, and for Christmas somebody got it." So that was a fun story. This is a gallery, one of the best ceramics galleries in the United States, and it's located right in Berkeley. It's uniquely dedicated to vessels, to pottery, and it's called the Trax Gallery. It's on 5th Street in Berkeley, and it's run by Sandy Simon and Bob Brady. And it has this little shelf. When artists are visiting there, when artists are exhibiting, they'll often make little cups, and those will be on sale. And so I call this the petting zoo. And you can see one of the cups doesn't quite fit in, and I had gone specifically with this cup looking to do this. And so I put my little brown cup with the little picture on it right into the petting zoo and left it there. And this is a great painter named Adam Wolpert, and we had met for lunch, and while he wasn't looking, I snuck a cup into the back of his truck, which he found about 3 months later. And he called me and he said, "I wanted to thank you for the gift of the cup. I can't remember when you gave it to me." And I explained to him that I actually hadn't, and all about that. This is from a project I was working on in Potsdam, Germany, and I was working in a museum with this fellow. This fellow was the architect of the exhibition. This is the project that I worked with Sabine Turpinen with, and this is Peter. And Peter is a fantastic architect, and he designed our exhibition. And this is his boat. It's like a World War I all steel tugboat. And we used to have meetings and drink tea on the boat. And one time when I was there, I hid one of my cups in there, and I don't know, I never talked to him about it. I don't know if he ever found, I'm sure he found the cup. There's just not that much room in the boat. And here is, back in Landshut, is a castle that presides over the town. And you can see in the walls there are some niches, and I'm getting some assist from my wife and placing a little cup up in the niche. And you can see the niche off to the right there. This is kind of the kind of wall matrix that you see in there. It's a beautiful walled castle from the Duke who lived there. He had 2 castles. He had one here that was up on the hill, and then he had one in town when he got so drunk he couldn't make it back up the hill. So that's where I put the cup, in Landshut, where I was working. And this is Munich. It's a cathedral in Munich, the largest, most famous cathedral in Munich. And probably now I'm probably going a little too, maybe crossing a line. But in the center of this niche here on the right, there was a little empty alcove, a little hole in the wall, and I just stuck a cup in there. You can see it past the pews. Just on the right is the alcove that has the cup. And this is a church in Skelsko, Denmark again. And here's a little hanging flower vase that I put on an existing nail that was in the side of the church. It's up at about 7 feet. I visited this 2 years later and it was gone, so somebody found it. And this is in a museum in Landshut, Germany. And this is what that place looks like. And I put a cup in that little niche up there. And this says friend in German. And this is a friend I made. This is an artist who does great work, and we visited her. And she showed me that she had the book that I had written with a Japanese fellow. She had the copy of it in the German translation, and then she gave me a book that she had written. So that was a very nice exchange. And then you can see up in the far right, I hid a cup in her studio area, and it probably took her maybe a year or so to find it. You can see it's quite subtle up there in the far right corner. And here's a little bit of what her artwork looked like. Very subtle, very simplified, beautiful forms. And this is the Fluxus Plus Museum where I had my show with Sabina, and we worked there for a month. We worked for about a month prepping and then a month setting up. And here is a look into the space that we use for our show, and you can see this vase of mine hanging up. I had actually installed the vase in the permanent collection, and it was next to a work by Yoko Ono and Wolf Vastel and Armand, some of my favorite artists, and I put myself right into the collection. And about 3 months after I had left, I got a note from the administrative assistant saying, "We really loved your work here and your show, and we found the piece that you hung on a wall in our galleries, and we had a meeting and decided that you're not officially a Fluxus artist, so we removed it. But we hung it in the cafe right over the area where you spent so much time working in the cafe at your table. So now it's here reminding us of you." So that was very exciting that they kept the piece. It's still on display in the Fluxus Plus Museum, and they haven't found the second one yet. So that's kind of exciting.